We are going to do a snappy one this week because we're going to jump into my Logic template. Getting organized in whatever DAW you work in is so important for workflow and so important, honestly, for creativity, because if you listen to a lot of the stories from some of the biggest songs ever written, most of them were done in really short amount of time. The creativity and like the inspiration has been allowed to kind of flow and manifest itself in the production really quite quickly. I think templates and organizational tools like this are really, really important for aiding your like creative flow when you're making music. So this is my template. I love Logic, been a Logic user for 15 years. I've flirted with Ableton. We use Ableton for our live shows. I have Pro Tools that I use for time stretching stuff because I think the algorithm's really, really good. But I love Logic. That's my program of choice. So let's just go through here. I have Superior Drummer on top, always available to make it sound like I've got a live drummer in the track. And I have the Voila kit loaded up just constantly, so it's ready to go. Let's just see that. Boom, there it is. VA Rock A. It's the Rock Foundry expansion pack. What I've recently been doing actually is I have gone into Drum Machine Designer, which is Logic's version of like Battery or a sampler-based drum instrument. And I use Drum Designer to basically tap grooves. If I have something that I found in Splice or like groove that I really want to recreate, I can just quickly pull out my machine and just tap in a beat, and immediately I'll have my favorite samples across the keyboard, so I don't have to do a bunch of digging through kick sounds and snare sounds and stuff. I already know what I like, and I have this ready to go at all times. Then I have the drum bus, which is my SSL, my Fatso, and then my Pultec EQ, just doing a little bit of gluing on the drums, and it just juices up the signal a bit and makes it a bit punchier and a bit fatter for all the percussion sounds. 808 Cooker, here is my big recommendation for you. This is a great plugin, amazing for making 808 sounds. I've got that in there. I've got a instrument called Punk Bass that my buddy Hosu put me onto, and this thing is amazing. It's just a really simple bass instrument, but I put it through the Ampeg Plugin Alliance emulation, then Sketch Cassette, which is another amazing plugin, and then we go through a console strip that is amazing, and this thing sounds incredible. Potentially the best plugin strip I've ever heard. We'll cut bass often, but this is just nice to quickly have something. Then I've got Labs in there, which is my felt piano that I absolutely love. I've got Keyscape in here, just with a soft grand piano sound. That's ready to go. I've got Vital, one instance, so if I really want to quickly find something, user presets normally, I'll just jump in here and I can just jump in, see a few of my favorite synths and just pull out something really quickly. And then they all go into a bus that then can be filtered separately. Then I have a instrument for guitar called Axe Machina, and I've shown this before, but it's a great instrument just to get a nice guitar sound straight away. You can jump in, make sounds out of that guy. I've got a Kemper audio channel just ready to go. It's loaded up normally with the right input, but I guess we fudged it on that. So 7 and 8 I think is my Kemper. So that's what that will be now. And then we've got the electric guitars together. We've got the acoustic guitars together. These are just channels ready to accept electric and acoustic guitar with EQ, compression, virtual mix rack, which I do love, Stephen Slate's version of this. I don't use a ton of the Slate stuff, but I love this. So we got that on there. And then we're almost done with it because we just go into the guitar bus, where we just do a bit more EQing and we take a bit of the low end. And this is before I've even recorded any tones. I already know the parts of frequency that I'm not gonna like. I don't go too crazy with it, but some would say that this is pretty crazy. But I know that there's certain pieces that I'm not gonna want in my track, so I bake a lot of the stuff I like in already. These are some of the vocal change, auto tune, noise gating, de-essing, compressing, and then I start pretty standard, and then I'll just increase it from there depending on how much compression we want on these different vocals. Gullfoss EQ is phenomenal. It's just a really intelligent EQ. I have it already on recover a little bit, and I'll actually reduce the bias down a little bit. And I find that there's a really sort of like nice, mellow, demudifying, if that is anywhere near a semblance of a word, of a vocal or a stack of instruments. So that's that. And then I've got my lead vocal ready to go. I've spoken about this before, but here's my chain. I've got this all baked in before we've even started, and I will then make sure that this is on the airband just to give it a bit more brightness. And this is kind of my starting point. From this point onwards, everything obviously always gets tweaked because it's never perfect, depending on what vocalist we're working with, how my voice sounds maybe one day. But then I do have them all bussed separately so that when you're in the track and making bigger production decisions, you can do a full mute, just the instruments, because maybe you've got a drum fill that you want to take everything out for. And instead of going into every track and muting everything, I have all instrument bus, all percussion bus, and all vocal bus. And I also have my all effects bus, and essentially I can take everything out of these little pieces one by one. If I want to quickly take all the vocals out, I can just do that. It's really easy. And then I've just got my mix bus and my 2 L2s at the end, just making sure everything's relatively baked. I always actually like to make sure that the out ceiling of anything I bounce is minus 0.5, just because I have had a couple instances where like I've bounced it as hot as possible and I've just heard weird clipping in certain formats. I just don't like to push it to the absolute max limit. I like keeping it slightly under when I'm bouncing out demos and stuff. It's just a personal thing. But the last plugin I'll just use and show you is just Classic Clipper. I always like to clip my stuff a little bit. I think it gives that slight aggressive modern sound, and I love this thing. It goes on every track we do. And again, I've got the Gullfoss there on the master version, and it just takes a bit of the mud out. I can just play around with these settings again, probably just tame it up, bias it down a little bit, and we'll be in a good place. That is the full template. I'm always tweaking it depending on what's going on and what I'm feeling. And also if I have a new plugin that I love, I'll definitely start tweaking it and putting it in. But that's pretty much what I got this week. Take it easy. Hope this was helpful. Cheers.